Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Sustainability in the Sea. I'm so happy you're here. I'm happy you're listening. I just want to, before we get into this episode, which is a good one, I just want to say that I know that I owe you guys some updates. I just got married, but most importantly, I just met Sylvia Earle. I don't know how to accurately capture my emotions of what it feels like to meet your ocean conservation idol in real life. But I'm going to get those thoughts together, and we're going to do a full debrief on my experience at EarthEcho 2024, the conference where I met her, and so many other game-changing people. It was so surreal. And then I flew directly from EarthEcho to my own wedding to marry Alex, the other co-host of this podcast, and spend an entire week with every single person I love in my favorite surf town in the world that no one had ever heard of, and everyone just had to trust that they were going to have a good time, and they did. And so I want to tell you about both those experiences. I haven't figured out if it's going to be the same episode or two separate episodes. I want to share more about my ocean conservation life on here. But in the meantime, I worked really hard to make sure you guys didn't have any gaps in the sustainability and the sea episode lineup. And so I hope you liked what we shared. The ocean advice episode is one that I really want to do more of, but I need to hear from you guys. Did you like it? Do you want more? What are your questions? Submit them to the FutureSwell team. The second is the huge part of our ocean thing was that we got to interview a ton of people. We were actually an official media partner. I'll talk about that later. So there's tons of interviews going on Instagram this week that you should check out. Learn about some other cool ocean conservationists, connect with the community that we hope to amplify through FutureSwell. And I actually got to meet in person for the first time the guy who we're interviewing for this episode. So Sean Russel is the Director of Youth Engagement for EarthEcho International. EarthEcho is an international impact org that was founded by the Cousteaus, and they focus so much on the high level conservation stuff. So getting marine protected areas established, engaging youth through education, ambassador programs, and direct action initiatives, and making sure that, ocean-based climate solutions are at the forefront of the conversation, which we know all of us are on the same page about. So I actually interviewed Sean so long ago, 4 months ago. We've been connected over LinkedIn and through mutual friends. And I was like, this organization is amazing. I want to interview you. And then we got to meet in person at EarthEcho. And he's just a lovely human being who has been with EarthEcho for the duration of his career. He's grown so much within the organization, and hearing his story of how he started at an entry-level position and is now the Director of Youth Engagement is so important. And it just shows, I'm someone who's hopped around. A lot of people I know have hopped around jobs, and to talk to someone who really found their aligned organization so early on in their career is inspiring. And Sean's amazing, and you should follow him on LinkedIn. I'm going to put it in the show notes. And just know the wedding and our ocean recap episode is coming. I'm going to do some different things with this podcast this year. I want to jump up to weekly. I'm doing this to hold you guys, hold me accountable, swear to God. I want to jump up to weekly episodes. I want to start having one-on-ones that are not just guests. I want the guests to be every other episode, maybe. Still do guests bi-weekly. I want to start taking you with things. You guys, this is a video podcast, a vodcast, so to speak. I want to start taking you with us to do ocean things, kind of like a YouTube. Speaking of, our YouTube's popping off. Go subscribe. I'll put it in the show notes there. We are there, and we're here to stay, baby. So come on. And if you want to put the podcast on in your television, all of these episodes are also on YouTube. I actually do that with the podcasts I listen to. I put them on in my living room, and I'm watching them on a television. The video podcasts are the future. And then the third update I want to share with you is that's, it's May. We did a lot during our honeymoon. We went to a wildlife hotspot that I have so many stories to share with you. But also, we have a second merch drop coming. The first merch drop since we have ever been called FutureSwell. That is coming for you guys this summer so that we can all wear the same clothes. We can all be wearing what we love, the ocean, And included in it is our first ever design for the podcast. So if you're an avid Sustainability in the Sea listener, it's cute, it's a crop top, and I know you guys are going to love it. I'll keep you posted on that. That's my little teaser. Okay. Hope you guys love listening to Sean. I'm so glad to be back. I know it doesn't feel like I'm back because there was an episode every time, but I am back, and I'm a back baby. Welcome to another episode of Sustainability and the Sea. Sean, welcome to Sustainability in the Sea.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here and excited for this conversation.
I am mostly excited to hear about your personal journey in all of this, but also it seems to be such a story of hope for young people. So we always start with guests on Sustainability in the Sea with, what was your first connection story to the ocean, and how did was there an aha moment, or was it like in a forever knowing that you would end up in ocean conservation? Tell us about your early beginnings.
Yeah, I love the question and the focus there. I think for me, I grew up in South Florida. I'm a fifth generation Floridian, and so I've always kind of had that connection to the coast, but also something that was really sparked initially with my family. And we, as young people, my parents always kind of took my brother and I out to the beach, to the ocean. I think earliest memories are probably, you know, parents pushing us on boogie boards on waves on the beach and spending time, just around and kind of connecting and immersing in the ocean and nature. And it was kind of this natural evolution of being around and exposed to that environment. As I got older, I started going to more environmental education programs through summer camps at the local aquarium or through involvement in organizations like the Florida 4-H program. And it was a chance for me to one, kind of move from this space of connection and passion for the ocean to start to see some of the challenges the ocean is facing firsthand. And again, growing up along the coast, having the privilege of being able to see that in my own backyard and in my community, both the incredible kind of wonder and inspiration that comes from the ocean, but also the challenges that we're facing. And for me, that kind of shifted this mindset into how do we move from just being excited about the ocean and that passion into a space of wanting to take action, wanting to move forward with conservation work. And it kind of is this natural evolution and journey over the years. And I get grateful to have incredible mentors and organizations locally that helped me as a young person connect to what some of those solutions are that I could plug into and take action around.
Now, what is the Florida 4-H program? What is the focal area of it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So 4-H is the largest youth development organization in the country, and it's really grown and expanded over the years. It started in the space over 100 years ago, really focused on agriculture education and youth development in that space. But over the years, it's really evolved and transformed to certainly still stay true to its roots, but offers a number of different professional learning opportunities for young people, everything from certainly environmental education and marine science, which was a passion point of mine, but also focus areas on everything from citizenship to government and advocacy and engagement and science and STEM careers as well too. So it's really exciting to see kind of you can find your niche and find your pathway, no matter what those interests are as well too.
Is it for high schoolers?
So it's usually varies a little bit by state, but usually opportunities from 8 to 18. So I joined when I was 9 years old, doing beach cleanups and adopting the local beach with my 4-H club, the Green Team, and went all the way up through more of our kind of state level leadership programs where I had a chance to build more of those skill sets and things like, again, citizenship, community engagement, and leadership programming as well too.
Incredible. How old would you say you were when you spoke a little bit about how you went from like, okay, I was passionate and loved the ocean, but then I started becoming more aware about the challenges that face our ocean environment. How old would you say that pivotal turning point was for you?
Yeah, I mean, probably this is a rough guess. Probably around 5 or 6. It was out doing again beach cleanups with my family, things like that, and just it started internally. But as I got older, because I joined the 4-H program when I was 9, we had an environmental science focused 4-H club, and we started by adopting the local beach through a county adopt a beach program, and then moved into doing work on things like habitat restoration projects or community outreach and education around ocean conservation topics. And it was kind of the more was that snowball effect a little bit of the more you engaged in the work, the more you saw both the challenges but also the solutions and the people, and got connected to fellow young people, but also community mentors and leaders that are driving those solutions on the ground, which was always something that I kept, I think kept that interest and motivation high in my life and experiences.
Oh, I'm glad you highlighted mentorship. Would you say that you had found a mentor early on in your ocean conservation journey when you're part of this program, or maybe when you moved on to focus on maybe what would come after high school for you? How did you find your mentor?
That's a good way. Kind of, it was really, every step of the way. And I think what's
Yeah.
so nice about that, and I love that you said that too, is, it was you I think pick up more mentors as you go, and I can talk about that process a little bit, but they stick with you through this work too. And I think that's something, particularly in this field too, in the ocean conservation space, it's a small, to some degree, it's a small world, and everyone has that interconnection. And so for me, it was, initially so grateful for my parents and family kind of mentoring and plugging me into local opportunities, but had incredible local 4-H staff, one of them who was a marine biologist and kind of brought that passion to the work and would take us out. I think the first time I ever went to his office, he had a bunch of aquariums and fish tanks, and he said, "Here, take some of these home, take some of these resources and education materials." And it was that really, hands-on immersive learning that people like that provided. And also similarly through, I again had the privilege of growing up in programs like education programs at the local aquarium at Mote Marine Laboratory in Sarasota, Florida. And going to summer camps or education programs with their team was again that chance to immerse and get hands-on with the work. And at first it started again in that education space, but as I moved up through some of their different opportunities, I ultimately ended up in their high school internship program and had a chance to have access to mentors that were in different aspects of the field. Some were focused on the education side, some were more on the research side of this work. And again, I think what's really telling is I still work with so many of those people today, and some of them are in different parts of the world now or in different jobs, but we all, it's so, I think, one, so valuable to find those local community organizations and make connections and meet people, but to just stay connected with them throughout all of our kind of personal journeys in this work. And it's so fun to get to collaborate with people who taught me summer camp when I was 9, and that was 20 plus years ago at this point. So love the connections that this community always brings.
The community is so small too. And we're all like we all have different paths within the community. So our audience in sustainability in the sea is a lot of young people who are still charting their own course and navigating college, graduate school, internships. And so was there a time that you thought that you would focus on a certain area? I know you had mentioned before we started recording that you worked in marine debris prevention. Did you think you were going to focus on one niche within conservation, or were you always like a generalist, so to say?
Yeah, it's like I think, the broader environmental interest was always there. I think that passion, as I said, for the ocean and the marine side of this work, maybe a little bit of a bias in my experiences. But I think for me, particularly when I was in high school and had the chance to get some of that hands-on experience by volunteering for education programs and being part of some marine research work through those experiences at Mote Marine Laboratory and their internship program, I knew I had this passion for what I would kind of describe at the time as really informal science education and more of that communication work. So thinking about how do we take the science and the conservation best practices and lessons learned and take that out to a wider audience, and certainly an audience of young people. And so I think I came at this and ultimately entered college and went to the University of Florida and majored in biology and had that passion for the science and that side of the work, but also this strong interest in and again that informal science education space. But I think what's been exciting for me is and I've had the chance to do some of that work too. I've worked in field-based marine science education programs, taking students out on the coast, out to barrier islands, out doing field programs and work. And what's been such a rewarding experience. But for me, I always had that passion for youth leadership and youth development and capacity building, and thinking about how do we go beyond just a traditional education program and kind of that one-way delivery of content and knowledge to young people, but how do we make sure there's a pathway for young people to learn about these issues and then plug in and have that pathway for action. And so for me, that was kind of it's all within that education space, but it's that a little bit of a journey for me to end up in this current work and role where I'm really grateful to have the chance to build programming that helps young people not just learn about these issues as a starting point, but also has provides opportunities for them to take action in their own unique and creative ways as well.
Yeah. And so that was a bit of time ago. Now, what do you do now within the ocean conservation field?
Yeah, so like I said, that was kind of my journey that got me here. I know we were
Mhm.
chatting earlier. I had a chance over the time in high school and college to work on some really exciting projects around machine learning recycling with students, and ultimately launched the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit program to help train other young people how to launch conservation projects. And one of the organizations that I connected with, again, as a student at that work, was the organization that I work for today. It's called EarthEcho International, and we are a nonprofit that was founded, gosh, about 17 years ago now by Philippe and Alexandra Cousteau, the grandchildren of ocean explorer Jacques Cousteau. And so our work really builds on this incredible legacy and history, but has this core mission and focus on building a global youth movement to protect and restore our ocean planet. And we recognize at our core that if we're serious about addressing the big picture conservation challenges facing our planet, we can't just write off young people as leaders of the future. We really need to have young people with the tools, the support, the capacity building resources to take on active leadership roles in this work today. So I came to the team at EarthEcho originally to launch our Youth Leadership Council, which is a program that helps internally guide all of our core work and ensure that our programs are really authentically youth supported and youth driven, while also leading campaigns for their peers around the world to take ocean conservation action. Across the organization, we have a number of different programs that kind of split between programs directly for young people, supporting young people, young ocean advocates around the ages of 13 to 25. And then we also have programs and resources for teachers and educators and the adult mentors that support young people. And typically that's even for a younger age audience as we get into middle school and have younger students who are kind of finding their pathway and resources to support their journey in this work as well.
Wow. So a whole suite of programming
Absolutely,
and outreach and engagement. What have you, are there any stories from folks that have gone through youth programs with EarthEcho and, how they've applied those skills to their own communities that have like stuck out to you over the years?
Yeah, happy to share a number of them. And again, what's been exciting for us is we started, 8 years ago or so with that Youth Leadership Council, and now have really been able to expand into a number of different both campaigns that group has driven, as well as additional direct youth leadership programs. We have ambassador programs that help young people get the skills and resources and funding and partnership development to bring to life, projects around a wide variety of focus points. One of the big areas that we've focused on over the last several years has been advancing ocean-based climate solutions, and also in particular elevating youth leadership and youth voice in advancing marine protected areas and the global goal of protecting 30% of the ocean by the year 2030. And we've had a chance to support young people doing on-the-ground work to advance those goals through education and outreach campaigns they've driven, through the direct policy and advocacy efforts of young people and their peers, and then also through on-the-ground conservation work through coastal restoration campaigns to connect young people in a very hands-on way to what ocean-based climate solutions look like in their local communities. But
Yeah.
there are so many great stories that come to mind. I'll flag a couple for you here. Just thinking about people like Brigitte Gunawan, who's one of our youth council members now from Indonesia. She came into our work through a fellowship program we ran around supporting young people to build momentum for that 30 by 30 goal. Launched an incredible campaign focused on called 30 by 30 Indonesia to build support amongst reaching thousands of school students across Indonesia. Ultimately has built on that platform and grown it to be an ongoing effort. She's led habitat restoration projects from mangrove plantings to planting a 30 by 30 shaped coral garden off the coast of Indonesia, and has also had a chance through her work with us to really share those experiences and lessons learned with her peers, and take that message directly to decision makers. She joined us at the UN Ocean Conference last year, or about 2 years ago now, and had a chance to speak alongside world leaders and really highlight what her generation is doing and the perspectives and priorities from young people in advancing these targets. So that's just one of many examples we can share and talk through, but it's always rewarding to see how, with, again, as you spoke about earlier, with the basic kind of backing and support and resources, we love to unleash the creativity of young people on these issues and let them tackle these challenges with new and innovative solutions that they really champion in their communities.
I love that you highlighted that you were also able to bring her in front of world leaders to talk about the work that she has done, because ultimately world leaders that maybe aren't prioritizing youth, or maybe there's a lot of opportunities to embed youth leadership into existing initiatives, can now see, okay, this is already being executed independently. Let's just foster this intergenerational approach to advance solutions at scale, which is ultimately what we need.
I love that. It's such a great point. I think when we do this work, especially in the more of the kind of policy and advocacy space and advancing marine protected areas and some of these global and national level goals, for us, we want to make sure that people are supported in building a constituency of their peers and community members who are active and invested and engaged in these issues. But we also want to make sure that it has a direct connection to decision makers, right? It doesn't just stay only in the local community, but it reaches the right folks as who are on either federal or national governments or whatever that looks like. And so in the U.S., as we've worked with a number of young people on campaigns around some of the national marine sanctuaries and monuments that are moving forward, had incredible kind of on the ground work building that, again, that capacity and support in their region, but also we'll bring young people to Capitol Hill Ocean Week. We'll have young people, in direct kind of roundtables and discussions with leadership at NOAA and the State Department and White House Council on Environmental Equality, and again, ensuring that there's that connection point between this incredible work on the ground that's building the lasting and durable community support, but also is making sure that message gets to the right people moving these efforts forward at the federal level.
Is advocacy a large priority for you, since EarthEcho is an international organization, as far as like ensuring that young people that go through some of the programmings that you offer are leaving with at least some general overview of what advocacy and policymaking looks like at different levels?
Yeah, absolutely. And increasingly we've, as I said, we've worked with incredible partners that have helped provide the nuanced kind of subject matter expertise and background and resources for a country or a region on these different kind of policy topics, which help people, again, be really effective and creative in moving this work forward. But I think it's something we've seen, increasingly young people be really passionate about and interested in as well, too. And so it's also, working to kind of fulfill that interest and desire. And then I'd also, go as far as saying kind of for us, certainly that policy engagement is a big part of that, but also looking at a little bit of a kind of creative definition of advocacy, thinking about how does that look like from a how are we engaging young people on entrepreneurial solutions, or looking at the sustainable blue economy, or how are we helping people lead kind of direct on the ground coastal restoration projects and efforts that advocate amongst their peers and communities for these issues. So I think the policy piece has been a big part of it, in an area that we've grown over the last several years. But also really excited to see that, in different places, different communities, advocacy can take on a lot of different forms. Just as an example, thinking of some of the young people that we've worked with on advancing marine protected areas. We had young people in Guam last year work on a campaign to help build support for the Pacific Remote Islands National Marine Sanctuary proposal. And they ended up doing an island-wide kind of contest to gain artwork and submissions from young people, kind of creating artwork around their vision of the ocean, the Pacific Remote Islands, and they turned that into an incredible museum exhibit at the Guam Museum to have up for a month and have the public kind of come through and learn about the issue through kind of that art and multimedia space, but also have a chance to still sign petitions, take policy actions, and have their voices kind of contributing to that broader policy effort as well too. So I think the creativity of this has always been really exciting, and really meeting young people where they are around the issues that they're passionate about. We see people are so well in tune to the interdisciplinary nature of this work, and thinking about the people coming to our programs are connecting through policy, but also through the science, the research, the art, the communications side of these kind of initiatives as well.
Yeah. What would be your advice for a young person who's maybe in school, knows this is their life's path, still navigating it, but to figure out where their specific role is within the ocean conservation movement?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, I think first and foremost, kind of thinking about beyond the ocean as a focal point, as an issue, thinking about what are they good at? What are the skills and passions that they have that they want to kind of contribute to this work and movement? So starting a little internally and thinking about, hey, what am I good at? What do I like doing? What's what can I contribute to this work from my skill sets and talents? And then I think another big one is finding community and connecting with other people in the space. And that can certainly, one of the things that we continue to try to do is work to connect young people kind of to the broader ocean and climate community as a whole, but also to connect young people to their peers. So over the last year, we've rolled out a new digital community platform called Gen C, like SEA, to connect young people now from over 100 countries to year-round networking, learning and professional development opportunities, and then those direct places to take action. And young people can sign up for that platform. They can, again, kind of try out new things, learn new skills through workshops. They can take different types of ocean actions with their peers, and just getting in that space of seeing what their interests are, finding out, what topics are of interest, and doing that alongside their peers and getting to share, notes and experiences and lessons learned alongside both people from their region, but also people who are going through both similar and different experiences on the other side of the world, I think has been really, really powerful as well. And then I just go back to the point you kind of started with is reaching out and finding mentors. And I think working at, over the course of my career, kind of working in a space where I'm often helping organizations that maybe don't traditionally work with young people think about their youth engagement strategies and their work. So many organizations are thinking about how to engage young people, and they want to engage young people. And sometimes it just takes, a student reaching out or asking them the question or saying, hey, how do I get involved in your work? There may not be a formal internship program yet or volunteer opportunity yet, but never hesitate to reach out and ask. And if you see, if you find an organization on Instagram, if you see someone in your community doing cool work, I would say never hesitate to reach out and ask, how to plug in and how to get involved, or if there's opportunities to learn more.
Yeah, and at the minimum, you get a little more information. Your name gets out there. You can connect into their network, even if opportunities aren't available. I think that initiative is such a core piece to like charting your own course, because what you spoke about earlier really resonated about young people are so attuned to the interdisciplinary nature of this work. And so that means that like maybe we don't all have one specific niche. Maybe we do a handful of different things. Maybe we have a few skills to offer the movement, but one of them's art and one of them might be youth programming. So I really appreciate the ways that you highlighted it's going to look different for everybody.
And I think that's a great point. I think on that note too, it's a recognition, and it's something we talk a lot about as we build more kind of career development programs as well too, is it's this recognition that you don't have to be a marine biologist to do this work. We can have a whole conversation about it, but I think this and I appreciate that. I think that the field is shifting increasingly in the environmental education space to this recognition that we shouldn't be measuring success of environmental education programs or ocean education programs on how many, scientists or marine biologists or whatever that metric is that comes out of a program, but really looking at how are we building, ocean literate, environmentally literate citizens that can bring this understanding into everything they do, whether it's how they vote, whether it's their own careers and work in a unique and different way. And I think that's been exciting to see more of that growth in people looking at how do we work in corporate social responsibility programs at large companies and doing environmental work. How do we do science communication I think your story is a perfect example of that. How do we do science communication as a career? And this can be part of our passion. We may not be doing the research, but we want to translate that to the public or engage others. And I think that's been a great shift again in this field, but also something that I think we always have to keep reminding ourselves, and certainly young people have too, is there's so many pathways to bring your passion for this work into whatever career or field or kind of future job you may go into as well.
Yeah, I do want to ask you a few questions about the Youth Conservation and Ocean Summit. So how long, what is that? And can you provide us a little bit of a general overview of it when you started it? It's something you carry out independently, or is it an EarthEcho initiative?
Yeah, so it's an independent project that started in college for me, and it really came out of seeing incredible young people plugging into work I was doing at the time focused around fishing line recycling and marine debris prevention, and seeing how enthusiastic young people were about taking on that one particular issue, but also recognizing there was this gap for young people to get kind of basic training and resources and tools to bring to life their own ocean conservation projects that are really relevant to their local communities and regions. And so initially, as a college student, about 13 years or so ago now, I went to the team I had worked with at Boat Marine Laboratory and shared this idea to create the Youth Ocean Conservation Summit. And there, again, and this is something that I'll kind of flag throughout this work, they're a great example of this. Organizations just kind of saying yes to young people and not kind of overthinking it, not saying, hey, let's think about this. I came to them with this idea as a college student. They said, sure, let's try this out. Let's, here's the space. Let's make this happen. What support can we provide? And I think now, in a full-time job doing this work, it's something I remind organizations a lot, is to say yes to young people's ideas and to think about, what basic kind of support and runway we can give young people and let them take off with that creativity and innovation again. And so we started that event back in 2011 as a single-day conference to bring together young people. They get to hear from kind of scientists, conservationists, educators, communicators, you name it. They also learn from their peers, again, about current ocean conservation challenges and solutions. And they go through a process of planning out their own ocean conservation project. And for me, as a student who'd gone through a number of different youth leadership programs over the years, I really wanted to make sure we didn't just leave young people at that step and kind of send them on their way with a piece of paper and a project plan, but wanted to make sure we really equip them with the tools to bring those projects to life. And so throughout the day at these summits, we typically have a series of skill building workshops on everything from communications to policy advocacy to citizen science to fundraising, you name it, to again help people take those action steps off the piece of paper and really activate on those back in their local communities. And then we also work over the years to kind of provide grants and support to directly fund the projects coming out of those events as well too. And what started out as kind of a one-time event back in 2011. It's been really just incredible to see the interest and enthusiasm grow from young people, both who came to this event over the years and grew it into the hundreds of participants, but also as a result, we had interest from young people in different regions and bringing this to life in their communities, and have created a process and tools to have other students, other young people kind of pick this up and bring it to their school, their aquarium, their science center, and have hosted dozens of these over the years in about 13 cities to date. Including a few kind of big, broad global virtual events in the kind of heat of COVID. But it's been really exciting to see young people take this and kind of run with the format and model and customize the content to really fit the unique regions where they live and the issues that they're passionate about in their communities. And for me, again, it's been a cool first full circle moment. EarthEcho was an incredible partner. Another, so many organizations kind of stepped up and supported this as an event that started with no budget, no resources, just an idea, and to kind of see what we could make happen. And so it's been really exciting to have the support of so many great groups that have helped make that work possible over the years too. From hosting the events to funding our grants, it's been an amazing community effort.
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you, Vibesha.
What an incredible resource for young people. So is this something that people listening might be able to plug into? I know you mentioned there's a handful of it's been happening across cities, or is it based in Florida? I mean, now we're in person again. What does that look like
back
for
at
folks
it in person?
listening?
Yeah. So we have still the kind of primary event is chugging along at Marine Laboratory in Sarasota, Florida. That's the one we have on an annual basis. Got an amazing team of high school students also working to support that program each year down in Florida. But have gotten back to now, a number of these popping up across the country, kind of coming out of COVID. So people can certainly check out yocs.org to learn more and check out where there's upcoming events. But then also, there's absolutely always that opportunity to bring one of these to life in their own communities too. And so that's something, a lot of the template rules or tools and resources to help support the planning and execution of one of those events. And the exciting thing is, we've seen these happen at all different scales. They can happen, in a school classroom with 25 people, and that's awesome. We've seen them happen, with 200 people, with an overnight and we've seen everything, kind of the full range of formats and types and scales. But something that's easy to kind of jump in on, and try out and bring to your own community if there's interest. And again, a lot of those tools and resources exist from the great groups who've put these together over the years, and we've got some great, again, models and resources for folks to build on.
Oh, that's incredible. All right. So the folks listening, you can engage right now at the website. I'll put it in the show notes too. You shared a little bit about advice, and I wanted to just come back to that for one moment. So for those that might be building a program themselves, a conservation program, a sustainability program, what would you say are some core elements that you recommend as an expert in this niche that they should be at least considering as a perspective, or they should, add or have it be a guiding, lighthouse for them?
Yeah, I love the question. I think, and that's something, it's funny, it's come up at so many points in my kind of personal journey. One, as a young person planning projects, to kind of helping young people with their own projects, and now doing this as a full-time job to build programs at scale. And I think a couple things immediately stand out to me. One is really thinking about kind of the goals you have for this work and the audience that you want to reach as well too. I think there's so many ocean conservation challenges. There's also a lot of solutions, but also, having a little bit of that focus early on is helpful. So thinking about, what is that end goal that you want to accomplish? How will you measure success? What are the things you're going to track to see if you're successful in getting there? And then also narrowing that down and really thinking about, what is that at least initially target audience that you want to reach and engage? And that could be based on region, based on interest, based on, again, the kind of strategy you're working to move forward. So that's helpful, I think, in initial planning. And the other big thing that I would say is thinking about partnerships as a key piece of this work. It's something that I would probably harp on a lot, kind of across this field. As we said earlier, it's a tight-knit community. People are really well connected in this environmental and ocean space. So chances are, reaching out to one person might lead to several other connections and resources to support your work. And I'd say that kind of at all scales. Initially, as I said, as a young person starting a conference, an event, and programs with no necessarily budget or resources to bring those to life, it really came to life because of incredible partners on that Youth Ocean Conservation Summit program. It was first the team at Mote Marine Laboratory, saying yes to this idea, providing space and staff resources and support to host an event and to bring it to life. It's incredible, partner organizations contributing their time to come in and lead workshops and mentor young people. And it's been also, as it's grown, more organizations providing, direct funding and resources to help support grants and, the projects that young people are bringing to life. But for me, I kind of rewind and think about that as a young person. It was those initial, kind of few key early partners that one added some additional credibility to who we were starting this and what this was, and added that initial backing that opened doors to other, other partners and organizations that might want to get involved. And I think about that now a lot in the work that I do at EarthEcho International. So much of our work is strengthened by partners. We have a small core staff and team that are incredible, but we recognize the reach that we're able to have, the kind of global impact of our programs is heavily strengthened through one, the young people involved in the work, two, our educator community, but also the partnering organizations that bring subject matter expertise in so many different areas. We recognize we're not the sole experts on ocean policy or, the blue economy or some of these core topics and issues, but we also know who to go to and ask. And I think that's a big part of this too, is knowing who to reach out to. And again, starting small, starting with a few of those core target partners, but building those relationships over time to get, again, some of that in-kind support, mentorship, guidance, and resources, and also just the content knowledge and that background has been so helpful to our team and successes over the years.
Those are great, tangible ways that folks listening can at least integrate this input into their programming. We finish every Sustainability in the Sea episode with the same question. It's if you could put a message on a billboard that all of the most powerful decision makers in the world would have to read or see, or some people have suggested art or design, what would your say or look like?
I love that question. I think to kind of sum up the whole conversation we had here, I think it's, and you can add all of the ocean visuals that you wish to this as well too on the billboard, but I think it's listen to youth, listen to young people, and really uplift their perspectives and voices in this work. And again, sharing that through that ocean lens, that climate lens, that environmental lens, but really recognizing that people are already driving the solutions to this work on the ground in communities around the world. And there's such an opportunity to uplift and scale and support the work they're doing. And so much of the work that we do in this field at EarthEcho and the roles that I've held, it's providing that support and resources and taking a backseat and getting out of the way and letting them drive the work and the advocacy and the policy and the programming. And so I think we've seen more of that over the years with policymakers, with organizations, with businesses, world leaders really starting to realize that young people have this power and ability to influence change at scale. And I think as we work towards some of these big picture goals that we've set, that's going to be increasingly critical to achieve those goals, but also, as we said earlier, to sustain and ensure that this work is durable and lasting over the long term as well.
Yeah. More youth advisory councils and youth leadership councils, but also youth positions within.
Absolutely.
I really feel like they're including youth in advisory now, but we need to be pushing it a step further. And I'm sure that you have thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's this, constant growth and evolution of this work. I think as I said, it's shifted from, having great education programs for young people to young people now providing input and advice and guidance. And now how do we then, as you said, kind of move those young people directly into leadership roles and decision-making roles, again, across governments, business organizations, you name the audience. But it is that trajectory that I think we're on, and really excited to see the results that are starting to come from that too.
Me too. Thank you for sharing your expertise with our audience and with me today. I'm so proud of the work you're doing and just cheering you on from across the ocean.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks so much for the time and just the interest in this work and everything that you're doing to uplift ocean and climate solutions and stories, but also the voices of young people and the work they're doing in the space too. It was great chatting with you, and excited to see where this conversation goes from here.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.